Men's tennis is on fire. The highlights and more are coming up on this week's Sports Report. And what a weekend it was for men's tennis. The Frogs are now 3-0 in conference play as they defeated Oklahoma and Oklahoma State this past weekend at home. Now the Frogs are riding a 10-game winning streak and looking to keep that streak alive as they roll through conference play. The Frogs are set to take on the Baylor Bears tonight at 5:30. Sand volleyball wrapped up their regular season this past weekend in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The Frogs finished the weekend 2-2 overall with their wins coming over Jacksonville State and Houston Baptist. Now looking back at their season, the Frogs' 20 of their 32 games came against ranked teams in the top 20. And moving on to men's golf, who competed this past weekend in California and finished 5th place overall. Junior Tristan Fisher led the Frogs, finishing tied for 7th overall. Now the Frogs were without junior Stefano Mazzoli this past weekend, but looking to get him back this weekend as they compete in the Big 12 Championships in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And moving on to the women's golf team, who also has their Big 12 Championships this weekend. I sat down earlier this week with a member of the team to preview the tournament. I'm joined by Annika Clark from our women's golf team. Now, you guys started off your season in February in Puerto Rico. You're hosting the Big 12 Championships this weekend. So how has the team evolved throughout this season?
We've really made a lot of improvements from February. We kind of started with a few good scores every tournament, but we were like always missing 1 or 2 because we take 4 out of the top 5. And so just each tournament, we've just gotten a little better and better. And I think our last 2 tournaments, we've really showed how much improvements we've made. So I think we're really at the peak of our game for Big 12s.
And for you, how do you see your game improving?
I can definitely see the conditions we've played in have been really tough throughout the spring. So I've seen my golf game grow a ton just in that and mental-wise also. So I've been really proud of how much my game has grown, mostly mentally though.
And I was going to say, do you feel like your game mentally has grown throughout your time here at TCU? Is that kind of how you've developed?
Oh, for sure. Our head coach, Coach Larkin, is really big on the mental game, and we read probably like 2 or 3 books a year just on the mental game. And the book that we learned, that we read this year, is called Be a Player, and it was an awesome book. I think that's one that's helped me the most my time here.
And I think it's crazy because this is actually our last episode of the season, but every week when I interview these athletes, everyone always talks about how during their time at TCU, they've grown as a person and as a player, and it's crazy that you definitely, it sounds like, grown as a person as well during coming.
Of course. I think the big thing from junior golf to college golf and just like junior sports in general is we're more centered on like the physical aspects, technique, just when you're like by yourself with your coaches at home. And then when you get to college, these coaches, you know, they've seen so many players go through and they've seen the game at all levels, and so they know what it takes to be the best player. I think it also goes with being a really good person as well.
Now, a few weeks ago, you qualified for the LPG event in May. So walk me through that qualifier and what that was like.
Okay, so I had gotten back to DFW from Arizona, actually, the Sunday before, the night before on Sunday. And the qualifier, I had like a 9 a.m. tee time in Dallas. So an hour drive there, and then you get there about an hour before to warm up and everything. And then my dad, because we had to have a caddy, so my dad caddied for me, and he actually flew from Arizona to Houston, landed at midnight, and then drove directly from there, or met my mom, drove directly from there to Dallas, slept a couple of hours in the parking lot at the golf course, and then I met him there at like 7, and we went on our way.
It sounds like your parents are your superstars. That's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, we kind of went in just like, you know, this is a great opportunity to work on some things that I needed to work on from the previous tournament since he'd seen me play. And so we kind of took it as like a learning day. And then it was really interesting because going into it not like really pressing myself to like, oh, I need to qualify, I ended up qualifying. So it was really cool to see, like, again, how the mental game plays such a big part.
Now, earlier we sat down with one of your teammates, a.k.a. Hollywood. Then we hear the golf team is notorious for nicknames. So do you have a nickname on the team?
Yes, my nickname is Shark.
And how did you get that?
So I smile a lot. So my coach says that I smile with all of my teeth. And then she also says that I swim around just minding my own business and then bite down on the competition.
It's crazy. It sounds like you guys have so much fun out there on the course. So what's your favorite memory about being a part of this team?
I really think just the camaraderie that each year it leaves us with. So each year, I mean, we talk about how much, especially this team, is just really close in like a unit. And so one of our core values for the year is allegiance. And I think that's the one that we really hold true, because all of us, all 7 of us, are really good, close friends on and off the golf course. And so, like, we all hang out on the weekends, and it's not forced. I mean, you see some teams out at tournaments, and we just talk about how we hear them, like, talking about each other and, like, really, like, putting down their teammates, or they just want to play so much better than them. And for us, it's like we have the opposite, like, not problem, but sometimes it can be. When we see someone playing bad on our team, like, we feel for them, so it makes us feel bad. So it's just amazing, the, like, love that we have for one another.
And I love that you lift each other up.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Annika, best of luck this weekend. Thank you so much for coming and chatting with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, stay tuned. There's more to come here on Horned Frogs Nation, so stay tuned.